Well, hi guys. I'm so excited tonight. You have no idea. We've got somebody sitting next to me who I thought we would never ever get on this YouTube channel because she
It's
hates
taken a
being,
lot of work.
she hates cameras, she hates everything. But I'm honoured to be honest. I know I shouldn't say that. I'm honoured to have her on because she is wildlife aid to a major degree. But no more of that for now because Laurie's got to go through his boring bit. We've got 50, we've got 50,
Thank you very much for that one.
We've got 15 minutes of Laurie being boring. And then we'll get to the exciting bit, which is me being completely insane.
I might just go. You can run this one without me.
Well, you go off on all the rescues by yourself now, so what's the difference?
That is because, and a lot of people actually on the YouTube channel have been commenting, and I quote, "Where is the old man?" So
Absolutely.
for a start, there is the old man. But unfortunately, with whatever's going on at the moment, we've got a lot of work going on with the new centre, and Simon is quite busy in meetings and admin and a lot of things that we wouldn't really want to bore you with. So Simon is quite often out, unavailable, which is why you've been seeing me quite a lot more on the YouTube channel on rescues. We will get on to some of the rescues that we have been doing in a minute, but that is why unfortunately you've been seeing this ugly mug rather than the one that you actually want to see.
I don't mind that ugly mug for about 5 seconds at a time, but when you start talking, trying to stop you talking is worse than any nightmare in the world. Any nightmare. And he hasn't shaved. He has had a haircut, guys, so look closely at Laurie. He's had a haircut.
10 years younger.
It's pretty stunning, really. He's pretty stunning. 10 years younger, but with a very straggly beard. Anyway, come on, Laurie, let's get this over with. What do you want to talk about?
So, before we get on to the special guest that we have on tonight, who several of you guys will know, but if you don't, we will keep you in suspense for a few minutes longer. We're just going to go through a couple of the patients and the rescue stories and all of the other things that we have been up to here at Wildlife Aid over the past month. So, in terms of patients, to be honest, a lot of it has been more of the same. It's just getting hugely busy here. And of course, the main thing that we're seeing a lot at the moment is these guys. And these are fox cubs. We have actually, I've just checked, we've admitted 98 fox cubs as of about 6 o'clock this year. 98
Laurie, you know I can't
cubs.
say that word. Laurie's a bastard to me. He's not good to me because...
Well, that needs to be bleeped out.
We do a lot of voiceover work, and for some reason I can say fox cubs all day. When I start to voice it, I can never say fox cubs. And it's now young fox, or baby fox, or
you
notice
fox. There's no fox cub anywhere. Or
but
if
never
it
fox
is,
cub.
he'll
It
have said
doesn't
the
work.
two words about 10 minutes apart, and we'll have to stick them together.
I don't know why, it's really weird.
Yeah,
so
there
anyway,
are a few that you keep tripping on when you get to that.
I trip on everything. The older I get, Laurie, and the more senile I get, the more I trip. And when I walk, I trip now as well, which is very disconcerting, but there we are. Go on, off you go. You can have 5 seconds.
Some comments about senility. So, as we said earlier, we've seen 98 fox cubs this year. So, luckily, quite a lot of those have managed to go back with mum. We've relocated a couple to other centres. It's always good with wildlife rescues if everyone works together. We're all in this together, and whether it's fox cubs, badger cubs, ducklings, anything, every animal that we get will cope better and will develop better if it's raised with their own kind. So wildlife rescues throughout the UK, and I'm sure throughout the rest of the world, we work very closely together to make sure that everyone has a good number of animals. They've got a reasonably decent gender ratio, just so that everyone gets the best possible chance for their animals to be raised successfully and head back to the wild. But yes, we have seen 98 fox cubs, which is huge. I believe it's coming up to our busiest year for fox cubs. And they've come in for a whole load of different reasons. So at the beginning it was things like dog attack, dug up, disturbed by digging work, things like that. What we're seeing a lot of at the moment, unfortunately, is RTA cases. So RTA stands for road traffic accident, basically being hit by a car. And a lot of entanglements as well. We will get on to entanglements, but we've seen a huge spike in entanglements, in netting, in wire, in a whole load of things at the moment, but they are doing really, really well. If you are looking on our webcams, you'll be able to see several groups of our fox cubs that are running around making the place look untidy. But moving on from the fox cubs to something that certainly Simon will have a lot more to say about, is these black and white stripy things.
Horrible.
Now, these,
I hate them.
As much as you say that you value all animals equally, that is complete rubbish, because you are absolutely addicted to badger cubs. Would you like to talk about the badger cubs? Because I think we've got more than 10 now here at the centre.
I think we have. I think we've got 10. I think we actually have got 10. I think it's 10. It might be 11, but I think it's 10. So they're our earliest entries. My girlfriend Stanny feeds them at the very beginning and has them literally 24 hours a day and feeds them every 2 hours. They're actually in the house at that stage. Everybody says, well, it's terrible bringing them in the house, but if you're feeding every 2 hours right through the day and night, we want them somewhere very quiet where nobody can see them, where they don't get into trouble. And so we keep them here, but as soon as they get ready, as soon as they're just about weaned, we put them out into the orphan shed, which you would have seen them in there to start with, and now they're up in the big flight, which is where they will spend the rest of their journey with us until they go back probably in September. It depends upon weather and how hard the soil is and all sorts of things, but we will build some release pens for them. It's like a starter home. It's much better than Barrett's starter homes. It's very posh. And they'll go out from there. So yeah, it's going to be a long year. We probably will get up to another 10. We tend to lock off at 20. And as Laurie said just now earlier on, we do tend to mix and match. So I will ring all the other centres around us. How many badger cubs have you got? How many have you got? What sex have you got? So we do a bit of swapping around to make sure that we don't put sibling with sibling, and we keep the genders just about balanced. So we all come out with about the same amount of badger cubs. The biggest problem I haven't finished. Let me finish, Laurie. I shall get funny.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Old now. You tell me in a minute. So the biggest problem we have is always good badger release sites. We want them somewhere quiet, somewhere away from roads, which is in Surrey is difficult, and somewhere away from cattle. We want to be doubly sure. We want to belt and braces the barrier between badgers and cattle. So that's always a problem for us. But Laurie's going to come back with his in a minute now.
So interestingly, just in the chat now, we have Wildlife Rescue in the chat, who I believe are the guys from Oxfordshire Wildlife Rescue, which is another wildlife rescue based, strange enough, up in Oxfordshire.
They don't
but
count,
Luke
Laurie.
and the guys
Laurie,
there.
No, don't speak.
Stop
speak
abusing people. That's
don't
not fair.
speak. No,
Luke,
don't be
I'm
nice
sorry.
to him. He hasn't been
painting
around.
at the moment, so
He hasn't been on this planet long enough to be respected. I deserve the
Luke,
respect because I'm very old.
Luke, we love you very much. But the reason we're getting to that is a lot of our badger cubs this year have actually come from Oxfordshire Wildlife Rescue. So we work quite strongly with a lot of others, specifically Luke a lot at the moment, just to try and make sure that those groups are working. So if you're here from supporters of Oxfordshire Wildlife Rescue, welcome. And if not, please make sure to check out Luke and the guys at Oxfordshire. They do fantastic work, as does pretty much every wildlife rehabber and rehab centre around the UK. There's loads of us. We seem to have quite a social media following, but there are an awful lot of others, so please check out your local ones as well.
And don't bring us any more badger cubs because they cost us a fortune before they go back out to the wild again. We worked out many years running that on average, because there are medications and everything else, every badger cub we take through will cost us in the region of between £1,000 and £1,500. So it's a very costly game what we do, to be honest.
Yes.
I'm waiting for Luke to win the lottery so he can send us a cheque down for at least 10 million to build our new centre. So we still want to build that. I'm desperate to build that before I die. I'm worried that it's not going to happen because before Brexit we reckoned the centre was going to cost us about £6.5 million to build. They now reckon it's going to be something between 12 and 15 million. So unless one of us wins a lottery somewhere, or we can get hold of that lovely couple in Gloucester who won 184 million, it's very difficult. So it's always a struggle. Any charity struggles, particularly post-Brexit, it's always been a struggle. So it's an interesting time for everybody. And, at my age, incontinence is kicking in, everything's kicking in. So, Laurie, now I did a talk last night.
I'm not sure where this is going.
Before, did a talk over to a Rotary group, and I was trying to work out what the relationship was between Laurie and I. Everybody thinks Laurie's my son, which scares me to death.
It's terrifying when people say that.
Probably scares Laurie more. But I'm not sure whether he's my carer, my rescue person, my bodyguard, or just my general helper, really. I mean, he does a little bit of everything, Laurie, and without him I would be completely stuffed, and without our guest tonight I would be more than stuffed. So Laurie, you take second place to this guest, I'm afraid, but only just.
That's about 8th place at least.
No, second place.
So
go on, kick through.
Moving on from that one, the other thing we're starting to see an awful lot of at the moment is these very noisy, very messy little creatures. So these are ducklings, specifically Mallard ducklings, and it's this time of year when we really start to see a huge influx of them. Mallards are notoriously bad parents, I'll be honest. And we get a lot of these that have either been abandoned, fall off a roof, fall down a drain or something like that, and they all have to be raised here at the centre, so we have several of them. I'm not sure quite how many we've got, but we've probably got more than 50. You can hear Simon, and I can see you as well. So I'll flip back on this. Then you can't use this as an excuse to abuse me behind my back again.
No, I wasn't. I was trying to say to Alice, she couldn't see what was on the screen. I said, look at my screen, because I can see Laurie and I can see what Laura's putting up. Alice couldn't see what was on the screen. And she said, yes, I can. So there we are. I was not abusing. Was I abusing? Oh, we know we can't talk to her. We can't. She's not here yet. She's not here. Don't talk to her. Shush. Behave.
This always goes so well.
It's going to go south very soon.
Perfect, isn't it?
It's going to go south very soon.
So, in terms of other species that we're seeing, we are getting an awful lot of these guys. These are various garden bird hatchlings, nestlings, sort of youngsters, and we're starting to see the start of our corvid season. So, the ones on the left in the photo there are jackdaws, the ones on the right is a crow, but we're also getting an awful lot of stereotypical garden birds. So, in the middle you've got a blue tit on the top, you've got a robin on the bottom, and then of course the pigeons at the bottom. Now, we get a lot of pigeons.
You meant a robin in the middle?
Yes, I did.
You did.
We get a lot of pigeons all round. Pigeons do breed all year, but we do see a lot more of them at this time. And of course, we're also getting into the time for these guys. Now, these are some of my favourite youngsters, I will be honest. These are tawny owls. We have 4 youngsters at the moment. They look quite a bit older than this. These photos were taken a little while ago, but they're now sat in a pen judging anyone who walks past with reckless abandonment. And I absolutely love baby tawny owls. I'm not sure if you feel the same.
They're very cute. No, they are beautiful, but they are the fox of the bird world, to be honest. They're not the nicest of creatures behind the scenes, and I could say that about someone else I'm sitting near, but never mind. We just had a question, Laurie, which I want to crack on to quickly. Yes. We've got a lady who's got, I think it's a neighbour or something. Is it a neighbour or is it hers? So she's got a nest of ducklings on her 5th floor balcony with Mama Duck, and she's worried what they should do with them when they hatch. The answer to that is this happens all the time. Mama ducks aren't the brightest of creatures, but ducklings have this ridiculous ability to bounce. I mean, they can fall 5 stories and survive, providing it's not onto solid concrete. We do in some cases go out to these. We actually try, we have a very Laurie and I have a very strict routine of how to get them, and we always manage to get mum and ducklings, which is quite amazing after all these years. So we could literally gather them all together and take them to the nearest river or pond or whatever. But to be honest, if they're going to fall onto grass or fall onto something reasonably soft, it happens. That's nature. Nature's very tough. I mean, Laurie just showed you a picture just now of jackdaws. We've got a lot of nests on our cameras. We've got nests around the centre and we've got cameras on them. And we've had a robin who has now had 2 or 3 clutches.
3. Each
time they've been predated by jackdaws. So
that's 2 jackdaws and a magpie.
Yeah, so nature's really unpleasant sometimes. We all think nature's lovely. We see the lovely side of it, but we also see the grotty side. We had blue tits a few years ago and a woodpecker predated those. But yeah, nature's tough. So she's sat 3 times. She sat on the eggs patiently. They either take the eggs or they wait till they've hatched and they take the babies. So nature's quite tough. And mama ducks are, you know, when they're the first brood, they're probably a bit more green than before, but they will probably survive. If you've got a rescue centre near you, you could ring them and get their advice. We do. If you look at our YouTube channel, you can see where we've rescued mama ducklings and, you know, off a balcony before, and how we do it and what we do, and we have great success with it. But just you know, don't panic too much. They do, for some unknown reason. But we did a rescue where I saw Laurie's face was absolutely a picture, because we had we'd rescued a load of ducklings. There was 1 duckling left, and Mum was swimming off with the brood. And I grabbed hold of this duckling.
I know where this is going.
I thought she's going to get, you know, she was going to go. She wasn't going to hang around to wait for this last duckling. And I hurled it, literally. I know it sounds terrible, but I hurled it.
It wasn't that far. It was only about 5 or 6 feet. But
yeah,
it was one of those at the time when you underhand throw a duckling. As animal lovers, everyone goes, But it is genuinely, it's the best way of getting them back. The duckling is absolutely fine. They're designed to take that sort of thing anyway. And it's the best way of getting them back with mum before she disappears. Because, as we said before, Mallards are terrible parents.
I tell you, the worst thing about doing that type of thing is when you're actually doing it, you think, supposing this goes wrong, you have to make, it's a split-second decision of what to do. We could have brought the duckling back, we could have done whatever, but I wanted it with mum. I'd rather always have the babies with the mum. And hurling this duckling out as you're doing it, you're just absolutely praying with everything you've got that it all ends happily. And so far it's worked. I mean, I've had Laurie up trees and I haven't had to catch him when he comes down before. He's done all right. So far, so good. Laurie, crack on, because we're going to swap over to our magic guest.
We are in a minute. So, moving on from patients, because we've got a whole load of those at the moment, to rescues. And you guys have seen a lot of the rescue stuff that we've been doing recently on the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, we are still seeing a whole load of, specifically foxes, tangled in netting. So, unfortunately, it's not the last you will see of that on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. We do have an awful lot of those. That is something we see all the time at this time of year. So if you do have nets in your garden, either fruit netting or tennis netting or football netting, so soccer in the US, please just raise them at least 30 centimeters, 1 foot from the ground, just to allow safe passage underneath. You'll be amazed how many lives you can save just by doing that. And every year we're called out to literally hundreds of cases of animals tangled in netting, and probably 95% are avoidable. And in an ideal world, we would never have to go out to them.
I love the last comment just come up on the YouTube chat. That duckling thought, "I believe I can fly." That just
It learned to fly early.
It learned to fly very early without any wings, little wings on the side like that. Really. So yeah, okay. So Laurie, crack on.
Other rescue sort of things. Now, we're just doing a slight bit of a teaser here. Now, this is something that we briefly mentioned last time, and this video is actually due to go out on Friday. So this is a fox cub that unfortunately it managed to get stuck down a sewage drain. And we arrived there and the fox cub was not coming out. Absolutely no chance of getting it out. And we were probably there for over an hour, yes?
Alice has just started to yawn, which is really worrying me.
Yeah, that's just because I'm really boring. We all know this. But we were there for probably just over an hour, and I'll be honest, the way we got it out was something that I certainly didn't expect, and is a huge thumbs up to the person that ended up getting it out. You will see that on Friday. But that one is one of the certainly one of the most difficult ones we've done recently, but one of the most recent ones. This is something that we went out to today. Now this is a roe deer that's managed to get tangled between two types of fencing. So unfortunately there was a small hole that it managed to get through further down, and it got stuck between two concrete pillars and was jumping up and down. And as you can see from the photo there, the risk you have in that case is when they jump, their legs go straight through the fence, and if they land badly, you can end up with broken legs, you can end up with dislocations, you can end up with a whole load of bad things. So we sprinted out to that one, and we won't give away exactly what happened on that one as well, but we can say that that was a happier outcome on there. One last one before we do move on is of course something that you guys have seen on our social media channels, which is this little guy. Now this is a mute swan cygnet, arguably one of the cutest things I've ever seen. And this one arrived because someone unfortunately found it alone by the side of a river and had tried to reunite it with the local Canada geese, mistakenly identifying it as a gosling. Strange enough, they weren't particularly happy to take it back, brought it into us. We went straight back out and were able to locate the proper family and were able to reunite it, which is absolutely fantastic. It's always the best part of the job when you can reunite families, and whether it's the swans here or one that we did last night, which was actually, unfortunately, not one that we can show you on video. So I went out last night to a fox that was trapped in a light well, which is sort of like a little sunken basement thing. It turned out to be a fox cub, and turned out to have mum sat in the middle of the road, patiently waiting for someone to help said fox cub get back out. Dropped a ladder down, picked up the fox cub nice and easily, straight up, plunked him down, just a bit wet, otherwise perfectly fine, ran straight off back to mum, ended up going into a churchyard, and fantastic moment, everyone circling around, all the siblings came out, it was absolutely beautiful, and unfortunately the camera failed.
Yeah,
got back.
it's operator error. Laurie screwed up the filming of
Yeah.
that. It would have been a brilliant one to film.
It would
but
have been,
what
and
happened,
the only thing that we've got is this, which is a GoPro angle of the fox actually going back and hopping over a wall into the church. Unfortunately, I was also wearing a head cam at the time. You see, I was usually wearing these head cams, and that's corrupted. So unfortunately, we don't have any footage of that one. You'll just have to believe us. That was absolutely amazing to see. But I'm waffling on too much, and over to you, Mr. Cowell, to introduce our
okay,
special
well, we're going to
guest.
I am honestly honoured to do this. And I'm going to go funny again already. This young lady has been with us since 2016, she informed me. In fact, she gave me not only the day she started, but the hour she started. And any minute now, Laurie's going to flick her face onto the screen. She doesn't want to see the screen because she's terrified. But here she is. Look, a smile. We actually got, is that a grimace or a smile?
It's both.
Okay, so this is Alice. Without Alice, this place would be a disaster, or more of a disaster than it is now. I've never known anybody work so diligently and dedicatedly to keep us going. So we're going to ask Alice a few questions I've always wanted to ask her, and if you're not on camera, she won't answer me. She'll just be rude, and a whole load of expletives I get from her all the time when I want to ask a question. But Alice, so you started back in 2016. Did you come for an interview, or what happened?
Well,
Well,
before I start, a disclaimer that all opinions are my own and not wildlife aid. So I joined as a volunteer receptionist on a Wednesday evening with the lovely Sandra, who's actually in this evening. And for my sins, an email went round from Becky saying that she was leaving, and the wonderful Jackie, who I could not cope without now, however, I think I owe her big time, put me forward to for this job. And then I had some chats by the pond with you and Lou.
Chats by the pond. That's always sounds ominous, doesn't it? Chats by the pond. So, being honest now, without swearing,
I'll do my utmost.
was it as you expected, and do you enjoy it still?
So I'll take a pause to
A
ensure
pause.
I don't swear.
Pause.
It is nothing like I expected, because I remember asking Lou if I could do 4 days a week, which 5 days aren't enough, so the idea of 4 days being enough. No, it's nothing like I expected. I previously managed paid staff, so managing volunteers is somewhat different and requires a different skill set that I have had to learn and acquire along the way.
Do you enjoy it? Do you still enjoy it? I mean, you obviously love animals. We know you love animals, and you've got your Fox T-shirt on from Ricky Gervais.
Yes, I'm also very good at merchandising.
Merchandising. Alice loves merchandising.
Money.
Don't you, Alice? You love it.
Money.
I don't think you loved it when we got all those boxes from Amazon recently, did you? That was
No, that was fun.
Oh, was it fun?
Amazon wishlist is very good, Simon.
Very
Give
good,
us
yeah.
lots of things.
I just saw about 10,000 boxes arrive in one day. All the lorries were
It was
full
like
of
Christmas,
boxes.
except none of it was for me.
Absolutely. So, since you've been here, you obviously love animals. We know that. You know you're a total nutcase as well.
Tread carefully.
Has it lived up to your expectations, this place? Or do you have regrets for coming in the first place?
Well, I have no regrets. It's slightly less glamorous than previous jobs, but there's also the bonus that one doesn't have to dress up to come in.
We noticed that. We did notice that, yeah.
Such thin ice.
I live on thin ice.
Cracking. No regrets. Jamie may disagree.
Is this your long-suffering husband we're talking about now?
Less of the long suffering, thanks.
Okay.
So, no, it's nothing how I imagined. I had no idea what I was in for, which is probably why I agreed to it in the first place. If, like you say, if you knew what you were in for, you wouldn't have started it. Exactly. And also, I can never leave now because there's no way I'm spending 3 months training someone else.
I mean, you can never leave anyway, because let's face it, by the time you got anywhere near the gate going out, I would have injected you with something to keep you here. I mean,
Also
you wouldn't,
true.
You wouldn't escape.
I've been threatened
Yes,
with
you have to.
several things.
Yeah, I can be quite
Yeah.
threatening when I want to.
No, I do love it. There are obviously better days than others, but the bad days are not. You can always still laugh on the bad days.
How do you love dealing with the people that
Which
ring
ones?
up? The people that ring up. Let's start with those.
Right. So again, I will take a very careful pause. So dealing with the public is interesting, as anyone who worked. I came from a retail background, so I had an idea of what to expect, somewhat. But it's interesting dealing with the public. You have some lovely people, and you also have some
not so
lovely people.
Well done, Alice. That was
See,
controlled.
I didn't swear
That was
there.
controlled.
But on the talk of swearing, there is a lot of swearing in the office because it is an outlet, and if I didn't swear and if other people didn't swear, I'd have an ulcer the size of Australia and be bleeding a lot. So it's nice because you're talking, some people listen and some people phone for advice, and they're really happy with what you say, and you know you've made a difference. Others have already decided the advice that you're going to give, so when the advice you give does not necessarily match what they're expecting to hear, they do not perhaps take it quite so well.
So give me a few examples. So your worst ever call, your funniest call, give us whatever springs to mind.
Okay, well, one of the funniest is a recent one, and I don't know, Laurie probably won't have a picture of this, there's no reason he would have, but a man called about a dangerous snake egg that he had found in his garden, and we were thinking it's going to just be a small egg or something. Anyway, so we always get people to send in photos because without doubt 90% of things are misidentified. It's not people's fault, it's just the knowledge of wildlife in this country is appalling. So he sent a photo in, we asked for something next to it for perspective, and he used the perspective was a chicken egg, and he had to write normal egg on it because the thing next to it was also a chicken egg, and you could still see the red lion mark on it, and it was obviously an egg that a fox or something had buried. I mean, I dread to think what type of snake he imagined would come out of that.
A big one, I think.
Yes, not one that you would like.
So what we actually had was 2 chicken eggs.
Yeah, 2 chicken eggs, and you had to write normal egg on the actual egg because, anyway. So there was much laughter about that. You always get the misidentified, oh, I found an eagle baby, or I found a heron baby, and you ask for a photo. It's a pigeon. We're still very happy to have it in, but it's not quite as exciting as an eagle baby. But it's always, as soon as you've been on reception, probably for like 2 shifts, when those calls start coming in, everyone's just like, yeah, it's going to be a pigeon, there's the picture, it's a pigeon. But every now and then, you're like, dear God,
it surprises
it's
you.
actually what they said it was. Yeah, so that's good. And there have been some nasty calls. They kind of just roll off my back now, but when I first started, people saying, oh, you don't care about wildlife, and you guys are, nearly swore there, really bad at what you do, just because you can't just go and collect everything that people phone about, because if we did that we'd need a whole nother charity just doing collections, because people, as far as a lot of people, they've done their bit, they found the animal, they phoned you, now you come and deal with it, and that's not how we work. We barely have enough people to look after the animals we've got. We just cannot send people out to Twickenham to collect a baby bird because someone doesn't want to bring it in.
So I mean, we obviously rely on a lot of our volunteers going to collect them. I mean, we have we've got a lot of volunteers, we've got 400 volunteers, we always want more, as Alice every shift.
Reliable ones.
Reliable volunteers are really important. But no, Alice is always, she sends out a list 2 or 3 times a week saying this shift critical, this shift critical, this shift critical. So we always want volunteers. But I mean, the volunteers you spend, I mean, we've seen volunteers go out so many times. You have a hardcore nucleus of volunteers who will really do anything for us, which is pretty damned amazing.
We do. Some
of
them, you said it would collapse if I left. There's some, again, very concentrated on not swearing, who are indispensable, who are absolute godsends. I try and be very, very strict on sending people out to collect animals, because otherwise I think it's just taking the mickey. If people are going to collect a bird from somewhere because the people can't drive and there's 3 cars sitting on the driveway. But there are certain people who I won't name because they'll probably be all shy, but who are absolutely brilliant. And if we send out, for example, a text to the rescuers, there'll be a little sweepstake in the office going, that'll be so, and to guess which one of the top 4 will get their phone call in first. So there are some wonderful volunteers. Some have only joined in the last couple of years, Steve.
Apart from you, who's obviously been here now for 8 years, if I got that right
You've
quickly.
got that terrible. I mean, my maths is bad.
Oh no, 6 years.
Yes.
That's it. Well, it's like 8. It's just a bit different. When you get to 70, you're allowed to.
You can't use age as an excuse.
So, yes, I can.
No.
Look at that! All that floppy, horrible
Too
skin
much
on
Ellie
my
the
neck.
Veal watching.
Okay. It's my wattle. Was it a wattle? That
Yeah.
was Alice. I mean, I think we should talk about AC12. Alice was honestly, when this series was on, Alice would wear the face mask with AC12.
It's literally the only good thing about 2021.
The T-shirt with AC12.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a television freak, our Alice.
Not all, just well, mostly Line of Duty.
Line of Duty freak.
Any crime drama. I don't watch stuff about animals and nature at home. It's too sad sometimes. Murdering and people.
Murder's good.
I can watch all that stuff. If
You
the
get
dog
rid of
dies,
people, that's fine.
I turn it off.
Yeah.
That's too much for me.
Absolutely right.
No, do not.
So, what's the funniest call we've had? Nasty people and
And
all right people. What's
old
the
bods.
funniest thing you've ever had?
Well, there's obviously the classic, which everyone goes on about, which I think will always be the, for me, one of the top classics, and it looks so staged because it was that time when Jim was filming to try and get another show on whatever channel it was going to be, and it was the wonderful Jason. Shout out to Jason there. Belgraves of London.
Jason.
You owe me. Who did and it was being filmed, and Jason is honestly one of the most polite, patient men you've ever met. And this guy phoned up, and I can do the call because I listened to it afterwards. Like, hello, yes, I was walking my dog Chester, and I believe oh my word, there's a toucan in the tree, and Jason is like, trying very hard not to laugh, and he's like, I'm sorry, what did you say? There's a toucan in the tree. And he's like, oh, okay, obviously not a native bird. I mean, we get calls about non-native birds, but a toucan's a whole nother kettle of fish. And then Jason's processing this and processing it, and then he goes, oh gosh, what a terrible idiot. Oh no, it's a magpie with a crisp packet in his mouth. At which point, Jason is laughing a lot, nearly said a rude word. Oh, I don't know if it's rude on YouTube, but I'll avoid saying it. And we're all in fits of giggles because it was the accent, it was the walking his dog Chester. I don't know if that's too much information, Laurie, sorry. Because I'm not supposed to identify people, but this is a classic, so it always will be. It was just fun. And Jim's filming it. It looked like we set it up.
Oh, no.
It 100% looked like we'd got some bloke to phone up, and we didn't. Which might be something we would have done, but we hadn't.
We would never do that, Alice. Come on. This is television.
It's all real television.
Somebody just said, I love how sarcastic Alice is.
I'm not remotely sarcastic.
Alice is what you would call an acquired taste, I
That is
feel.
rude.
But without her, as I said before, we would be stymied. I've never known
You
anybody.
said it would be slightly more of a disaster than it is.
What would be a disaster?
You said it would be a disaster. Well, a little more of a disaster than it currently is. See, I remember everything. That's also
I think Alice has lost the plot. Look, it's a little smart coming out there. Okay, so any other interesting stories that you would like to divulge to us at this stage, or any other interesting facets about wildlife aid? We could talk about weeding the paths.
I would say my best description of what I do is filter what you say as to what I believe is a suitable thing to say to the volunteers to make sure we keep the ones we have. That's another part of my job.
So you're trying to say that you're my filter?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if you said some of the things you want me to say...
Yeah, but do you think I can have diplomacy, can't I? I have been known to be diplomatic when I need
Every so
to
often,
be.
yes.
When it's vital.
When you're dealing with someone that I can't deal with this person anymore.
Simon, come up, deal with this
I
person.
will snap.
And we've had a few, haven't we? They've come to the gate, and Alice just said, I can't handle this. I mean, they've been nutcases most of the time.
You see, I was avoiding saying that word because I thought it would be frowned upon.
What,
But yes.
nutcases?
Yes.
No, you're allowed nutcases.
Okay, we have a load of those.
Okay, so it's an interesting life, isn't it? Interesting life.
No 2 day is the same yet also every day feels the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's an expression I always use, which actually I can't use on this either, but every day is like another, but just the same as the one before, but different.
Yes.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah. And also there are some days where you have spoken to someone and it's so surprising, you're like, oh my god, they were actually really nice and they listened to what I said.
It is weird. I mean, I had a call a while ago now, but somebody rang up and they wanted advice, so I gave them advice, and they got really shirty with me. They didn't like it. I said, wait 24 hours, do this, do this, do this. I said, you just don't care, you're not coming out,
Yep,
you're not going to
yep.
film it, whatever.
Get all those.
And then I got the lovely thing you do get, and it's rare, I suppose, to be honest, but I got a call back 24 hours later where she rang up and said, I'm really sorry. I said, what are you sorry about? She said, well, I did what you told me to do, and the animal went off absolutely fine and it was wonderful, so thank you for caring. And they're the alleluia moments, really, aren't they? They're the things.
They're the ones where you're like, see, I told you so.
Oh, we see. No, I don't do it. I say an alleluia moment.
No,
and
I'm
you say,
smug.
told you so.
I'm smug. But, well, the one, parents haven't been back all day. This was a call I got a few weeks ago, 10 o'clock at night. Parents haven't been back all day on the blue tit nest, well, since 6-7 o'clock. Want to bring them in. I was like, please leave them. They're old. They're getting to the stage where, mum doesn't need to be there at night. And then I get a message, which granted I did not see until many hours later, at 5 a.m. saying, oh, thank you, mum came back just now. That was an I told you so moment.
Yeah, no, I know. You do get those. I mean, what people have got to understand is, we haven't done this for 40 years for the hell of it. I mean,
I haven't done it for 40 years.
You wait till you've been here 40 years. I wonder what you'll look like in another 30 years from now.
Haggard. More haggard than now.
So rather like me then. Is what you're trying to say? Is that what
Hopefully with more hair.
Ooh. She's so hot. And before she came on tonight, Chris Alice is a bit of a foodie.
I do love my food.
And I was really worried that she wasn't going to have anything to eat. So I went out specially and bought her a whole
This
chocolate
will be in the
cake.
office tomorrow, ladies. Anyone watching?
You've got to eat it all tonight before you go. You're not allowed to go home until you eat the entire chocolate
Well, then I won't be
cake.
in tomorrow because I'll be sick.
Okay. So you've got lots of quite a large menagerie at home, apart from your husband, haven't you? What have you got at home?
I like that he's included in the menagerie. So we have 2 dogs. All of our animals are rescues. So we've got 2 little dogs, Jack Russell Cross Chihuahuas. I refuse to do that whole Jack Chi rubbish. They're mongrels, but that's their main mix. Lovely boys. And 2 cats left. We lost 2. Well, not recently, it's like 2 years ago. 18 and 16. And we have a leopard gecko, and rescued from here. Because it was found in someone's garden, and a bearded dragon also from here. And also have 6 rats, but they're wild rats that I hope my landlord is not watching. Wild rats who are very safe in a tank, who have no way of escaping, who will be released back to the wild nowhere near my house in about 4 weeks' time. But we have lots of wood pigeons that the dogs like to bark at. But not that much, and a few foxes, but not obviously as part of my menagerie.
So Alice's life is all about animals, really.
Yes.
But I think the biggest thing, which you must find as well, Alice, is the fact that the actual beginning of taking in an orphaned animal is so time consuming.
Yes.
Do we struggle for orphan feeders? Are we still struggling now for orphan feeders?
We can do. We do. The thing is, it's a difficult thing to do and to train someone. It's I was never trained. It was like a innate thing.
Alice, you could never be trained, could you?
This is also true. But there was a little pinky squirrel. We won't talk about grey squirrels too much because I'm assuming there's not 4 hours left. But a little pinky squirrel that we couldn't find. This was probably 2017. I'd been here. What would be my first orphan season. Couldn't find anyone to take him home, so I took him home, and thus it began. And then just had loads of squirrels. I remember you telling me off once because you found out that I took 10 squirrels home in one night. And then it just kind of morphed to other rodents and sometimes pheasant chicks and moorhen chicks because they don't do well on their own. You do need orphan feeders, but it's a really tough one because you need the animals in to train, them on what to do. It's not something you can't read a book and learn how to feed an animal. But also once they're here, you kind of get a bit protective over them and like, I'll just do it myself. Which I realise is not the way it should be, but I know Alana would feel the same way about her fox cubs.
I think we all do. If you want something done properly,
Myra with her with the
yourself.
mice, yeah, which is, again, it's not the right way of doing things, and I get that, because then that means that it's just the one or two people have all of the animals. But once you've got them, you're like, I'll just take care of these ones, and then we'll do the next batch, and then the next time, like, I'll just do these ones, we'll do it next time,
It's difficult. It is difficult. And I know when this new law came in about grey squirrels, I mean, I've never known Alice, to be honest, I've never known her so devastated. I mean, if one of her close relations had died, she wouldn't have cared so much as this grey squirrel problem.
No, not
and it's like, I mean, we went to lawyers, we had lawyers write in to DEFRA. I mean, it was the most absurd law. It still is the most absurd law that we have to euthanize grey squirrels. We can't release them back out. And Alice is a particular grey squirrel lover, obviously, like we love all wildlife, but grey squirrels particularly got to your heart. And you struggled with that a lot, didn't you?
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, I won't ramble or rant, because I could for a long time, but it's just such a pointless legislation. And as I say, we're allowed to treat pheasants and other game birds because certain members of society like to breed and shoot them.
Yeah, it's got it.
Grey squirrels are too clever.
I've got 4 questions now, so I'm going to look away from the screen, guys, so I don't think I'm being rude, but I'm looking at a page in front of me of all the questions for Alice, so I've got to take my glasses off because it's on the computer screen. So here we go. So first one, your favourite topic of the year. How is Open Day planning going?
When I can actually get to it, fine. And also, some idiot, me, decided to do an entire weekend.
Yeah, I haven't forgiven you for that.
I decided that in February, when I was all high on...
Did you tell me first, or did you just announce it?
I asked you first.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
You announced
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You did not.
I did.
That was one of my senile moves.
I sent several emails round, and because I didn't get a response from everyone, I took that as set approval. It's not my fault if you didn't reply. So yes, it's a whole weekend. It's going okay. We're getting there, but I'm trying to fit that in between certain other IT issues that we're having, and just everything else.
So
we're getting there.
You got a lot to do for Open Day. Tell everybody in your beautifully eloquent voice when Open Day is this year.
It is on the 2nd and 3rd of July.
2nd and 3rd of July. Anybody from anywhere in the world is welcome to join us.
As long as they pay.
We expect our pilot friend to be here. He likes to come to Open Day every year. He's already given us €100, so thank you so much for that. You know who you are. But yeah, no, it should be fun. Open Day should be fun.
The only thing I can't control about it is the weather, which I don't like.
No, the weather's always a bit tricky to control, but not sure. Now, here's another question. Okay, so Alice, what might be some things callers could do to make your life easier?
Listen.
Yeah, but do you ever listen? You just go your own sweet way, don't you?
Yes, but I know what I'm doing.
Ooh. Oh.
But so, as you say, you never know. If once you say you know everything, then you need to go, because you don't. I'm always asking Laurie, Alana, you about certain things. But what it would be, what would make it easier is if they called us for advice. Like, listen to what we're saying. We're not doing it to be difficult or because we don't want to help. We're doing it because you need to leave that deer for a couple of hours to see if it stands up of its own volition. If you can't see anything broken, you need to wait and see if the parents come back. And I think a lot of the people just want what they consider to be the problem sorted then and there, when it's not something that it needs time. This fox is limping, but it still can run away from a person. Well, you don't care. There's no magic. I think that films and TV have got a lot to answer for, that they think there's a trank gun, boom, down it goes straight away.
Yeah, 8 minutes is the average time for an animal to go down if you trank it. So, okay, here's the last one. You'll love this one. Alice, how do you deal with Simon being a pain?
One has to be very firm.
I'm writing this down. Hang on, I'm just going to take notes for this one.
And I also have apparently got a very expressive person, and have, although we're no longer wearing masks as of just Monday gone, I could still convey what I meant from here without you needing to.
You only need the eyes with Alice. I've forgotten what it was, but a while ago you sort of went. I asked something or said something, and you just went flounced off, flounced off. And that's Alice. You know what you get with Alice.
A lot of eye rolling. I didn't realise how much
Yeah.
until I was conscious of how much I roll my eyes, how much I do roll my eyes.
Alice actually quite scares us all. I don't think there's anybody at the centre who's not scared of Alice. Oh, Laura's just said, I'm listening to him in my in my earphone saying he's terrified of you.
Well, I mean, I'm just...
Anybody of sense is terrified of Alice. He's only saying this off speaker, so...
He says that to me all the time.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you say to Laurie to make him love you more and not be terrified
Only
of
such a
you?
worse.
That's Alice for you. That's it. With Alice, you get what you see and you see what you get.
I see no point in dilly-dallying.
There's not time in this world to dilly-dally. Everything's... Okay, there's the last question from the questions here. Alice, what is your favourite tipple after having to deal with Simon some days?
Well, actually, unlike Simon, which is just Coke,
Let's go.
mine is just Robinson's apple and blackcurrant. Shout out to Robinson's, feel free to send me a load. That's it, and a cup of tea. I'm not a drinker because I think if I drank I wouldn't stop.
Do you feel the same way about food? You're a bit of a foodie, aren't you?
I
You do love your
Are
food.
you implying I'm fat?
No, I'm not
Okay,
implying
just
that. I wouldn't dare imply it to
Okay.
you, to be honest. So what's your favourite food? Come on, what's your ideal meal? If I forgot your husband's name.
Jamie.
If Jamie said, I'll take you out for a meal, where do you want to go? And what do you want to eat? What would it be? What would be your
Well, you would be
ideal?
horrified because I think he would agree that we both have very unsophisticated palates.
You just eat what you love.
Oh, do you know what? Right now, I really fancy Nando's. Again,
Nando's?
shout out.
I've never had a Nando's.
Really?
No, never.
As in, I'm vegetarian / vegan. I try. But oh my god, their halloumi is. Mwah.
Oh, I like halloumi.
It's very
Halloumi's
good.
alright. It's a bit rubbery and tasty.
If it's cooked right, it's alright.
Oh, is it? Is it cooked right? Okay. So, favourite pudding? Chocolate cake, apart from chocolate cake?
I mean, I do love chocolate cake. You know those chocolate puddings with the chocolate sauce inside and then cream on top? Because
So souffle. You're talking about a souffle?
No, like a chocolate sponge with chocolate stuff. It's a microwave usually, so a bit, yeah, you see, like I said, I do not have a sophisticated palate. All my money goes on the animals and then we get the leftovers.
Yeah, I think poor Jamie. I feel sorry for him
He
sometimes.
does okay.
Does he?
Yeah.
Who does most of the cooking? You or him?
Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah. It's probably, I can bake cakes, obviously. I like cakes. But I've got no patience with, I'm just like, it's almost done, that'll do. Which I recognise is not, the best way of doing it. I'm not fussy. Although I am also very fussy with food.
So Laurie's just asked me a question which I'm not going to ask you because you'd say yes. And Laurie's question was, would you be interested in doing rescues? But then she'd be doing even more, Laurie. She'd never go home. We'd have a nightmare with her.
Well, no, because I'm harsher than Laurie.
Well, you're quite hard. Yeah, but would you enjoy doing rescues, do you think? Would you like to rescue something, or would it be something that you'd rather not do? Just
I
that's
wouldn't mind
interesting to me, really.
I would do rescues.
But
I
you-
feel I have the, I don't want to be arrogant, that's the word. But like you've said, you need to have common sense.
Yeah.
And just, like the day we moved into our house, literally the 1st of April, and I hear fluttering in the fireplace, put my hand in, there's a jackdaw, pick it up, take it out. The amount of people that would, which is fair enough because I'm experienced with handling them, but would phone us, oh, can't touch it, oh, I have to get my wife, husband, neighbour to do it, but it was fine, just pick it. I know that's not a full-on rescue, but no, I wouldn't.
Well,
I'm not rescuing cockroaches, that's it. Sorry, I know all wildlife is precious, but that's it, I'm not going near those.
is that why you often call me a cockroach? Is that?
I've never called you that.
No, but you've thought it a few
Possibly.
times. So, I mean, I've always said I've got a T-shirt up there which is not allowed to show anyone because it's got a swear word in it. But I mean, anything we do is actually not rocket science. It's
really
common
not.
sense. It's common sense. But
Which is misnamed,
why is it misnamed?
because it's not common.
Okay. It's rare sense. So we've got
It's
rare sense here.
very
But it
rare.
is. It's if you just think it through. It's not rocket science, and it's something we can all deal with. But I struggle with, as you say, really, too many people don't have common sense, and it really
It's
is quite easy.
surprising because you just, if something's stuck behind something, what can you do to get it out? What tools do you have at your disposal? It's just something to me that would be an automatic, I'll think how I can get it out rather than it's stuck there forever. I struggle to get my head around that sometimes. But
I
then
think we're going to
also
have to start to send you out on a few rescues with Laurie. As I get older and older and sink further and further down my chair, it'll be you and Laurie going to rescue things. That would be an interesting combination as well, actually. The more I think about that, that could be quite funny. I think it would be comedic, guys.
I'm not a good swimmer, so I can't do a maru, because then you'll be rescuing me. You know,
Okay.
when she dove in to get that duckling? Or?
It was a duck, yeah.
Yeah.
It
That was
shocked us all.
remarkable.
I mean,
That
it
was
shocked us all. There's
amazing.
Laurie and I, and somebody else was there with Laurie, weren't they? We were all there, and she just suddenly disappeared.
I'll go
suddenly
up
saw her in the
high, I'll
water.
go in tight spaces, if I can fit, obviously. But
I'm not going to say anything to
yeah,
that.
exactly, watch that. But I can't, I'm not good with water. I will probably just drown. I was not meant to go in the water.
Okay. So what's your favourite bit about this place? Come on, we're coming to the end now. We've got to... Alice has made me promise that at 8 o'clock on the nose...
I'm actually
she's
quite
gonna-
enjoying it.
Well, I want that in writing. Can I have it in writing? Can you sign that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my favourite bit.
Go on,
Well,
favourite
obviously
bit.
the animals, without question. But it's definitely the people that you work with that make it fun.
But I thought you didn't like people.
Not all people.
Oh, just some people?
Yeah.
So very selective.
Yeah.
So it's not rocket science, it's selective people.
Yeah. But you've got to, if you don't, I know we say we're not people and all that, but you've got to like the people, or the majority of the, the people that you're in contact with a lot. Otherwise, why
Why?
would you do it? I mean, I've left jobs previously because I could not do it anymore.
We've had so many questions coming while you've been talking. You have stolen the show, which I'm very upset about, and you will get your comeuppance for that one. But Laurie, because I haven't had a chance to really look at these screens very much, have you got anything that you can whisper in my ear that I can ask Alice?
Don't forget the t-shirt, guys.
Okay, so here we are. What basic advice, Alice, would you give to people who find an injured animal?
Call someone.
Use your common sense!
Please, however much your children might want to look after it, or it's a little project, or you've rescued a bee in the past, call your local wildlife rescue. Do not Google how to raise a baby bird. Find your local rescue. Or if you don't have one, call the RSPCA. This whole misnomer about, because we battle this all the time, the RSPCA kill everything, blah 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 blah. It's rubbish, because why would they bother bringing? The RSPCA bring us wildlife. Shout out to the
All
lovely
the time.
Lewis.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
our local ACOs inspectors are
The
brilliant, aren't
local
they?
inspectors and
Brilliant.
ACOs are just, they're great. They really care.
I don't believe I've just been nice to Lewis. That scares me.
We love
actually.
Lewis. It's you've done the right thing. You've found whatever it is, but before you, I mean, sometimes it's fairly obvious. Like if it's an injured bird, then you shouldn't leave it where it is. But if it's a larger animal like a fox or a badger, think, is it something that could hurt you if you pick it up? Blue tip, not going to. Badger, as Simon would attest to.
Yeah, they can hurt.
Rats, I mean, I remember when I was like 21, I found an injured rat. Didn't even occur to me that it might bite me. I picked it up and put it out. Well, it wasn't injured, it would come in the house. Put it outside. I don't have a fear, even though my mother is terrified of rodents.
Well, there you are. I'm going to say nothing there. On
We
YouTube, we can't say what we want to say now. We steer clear. So I just had a comment here from Mottram.
Julia!
Shall I post the video of you and Jackie in hysterics
No.
in the office?
No.
You don't want that posted? Why don't you want that posted?
Well, there was a slight misunderstanding. We always have music on in the office because you need, it's a nice thing to listen to, radio, YouTube, whatever. Jackie is a big George Michael fan, and we were listening to George, and then she said something along the lines of, did you know his real name was that song you like, but it was actually sung by Harry Weber. Misunderstanding. She was actually talking about Cliff Richard. She was talking about George Michael. Also, it'd been a very long day of staring at spreadsheets, so I think there was a great deal of hysteria involved, because I was at my wit's end of trying to balance.
It sounds to me that you don't do a lot of work. You just spend life in hysterics with Jackie and all your Mottrams.
Well, shall I
in the
go
world.
then?
No, you can't go till 8 o'clock.
Well,
you
no, I
promised.
mean in general.
No, you did. You know you're never going to do that. And I've also just learned that Lewis is actually listening tonight, or
Shout
watching
out,
us tonight.
and also shout out to Neil at Wallington Animal Rescue.
Why have we got
very
to shout
good.
out? Tell me about Neil at Wallington Wildlife Rescue.
Well, there's Wallington Animal
Animal
Rescue are
Rescue,
supposed
rather.
to be domestics.
Right.
Bless them. But they've somehow been sucked into the wildlife sector. And are being, they get calls about everything. Fox. I mean, they have to bring a fair amount to us, but they're still bringing them to us when, people wouldn't. And they're very good. They work really hard. So there's only 3 of them.
I mean, everybody does. I mean, I think everybody in this world, as much as we slag each other, I slag everybody off all the time, and they slag me off. But actually, when the something hits the shovel, which I can't say, the poo-poo hits the shovel,
fan.
we actually do get together and sort things out. I mean, we do. I mean, we've got Souchoir in Essex, who I have a real love-hate relationship with. I mean, I love her most of the time, but I just laugh at her a lot. But I mean, we're all dedicated. I've been doing this for 40 years, sadly, far too long, really. But we love what we do, and I always say every day I whinge and moan. But if anybody said you can't do it tomorrow, I'd be in a real state. Would you be in the same state?
Yeah, this is not the job to do if you're in it for the money.
No, absolutely not. And I'm so upset that we've given. We were nice about Lewis now.
Why?
Because his head's going to swell now. He's going to come over here. He's going to be a prima donna next time he comes in, isn't it? Don't you think so?
Yeah.
You think it'll be all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Lewis, we do love you, but I don't want to say it in front of 484,000 subscribers. Too much.
I think that's a bit optimistic of how many people are watching.
Subscribers, I said subscribers,
Oh,
not
okay.
watching tonight now.
Right.
But they might tune into it later.
Right.
So, Alice, we're coming near the end now. We've got about 4 minutes to go. We've got a bit of wind up to do. Anything else you would like to get off your chest? And I just wish I hadn't said that. I think that
Well, you say that. We've only got 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I wanted to make it quite brief.
Well, I'll say that I've got I think my biggest beef this week
Oh, gosh.
is with property developers. And whoever did whatever they did down the road.
Do you want to give them a very quick synopsis of what happened? Because we were all aghast, shocked, angry, and could do nothing about it, which is very frustrating.
Nipping home to let the boys out for a wee. When I say boys, the dogs, obviously. And on the way there, just horrified, so I'm driving past, this literally just down the road, and all these guys, the road's closed on one side, vans everywhere, tree cutters, just
Shredders.
just like, what the hell is going on? Pulled over, obviously, and phoned Simon.
Yes. Well, that's first. Phone Simon.
Who said phone the council, which I probably phoned Mole Valley, and they said phone sorry. Because I will always stick my oar in. I won't just see things like that happening and not get involved. Turns out they gave permission for the road to be closed, but there's urgent work required, which I imagined it's to absolutely vilify the land and put some.
There's a
God-awful
very long section, about 100
Huge
yards
section.
long, of trees, bushes,
And they tried
shrubs.
to say that
and
there
they
were
just,
no
just
nests
ripped
there,
it out.
which is utter.
Bertie
not
Abel, love
true.
sugar.
They were nice blokes. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're just
They're
doing their job. But I was just.
But in nesting
Horrified.
season, guys, please, in nesting season, don't cut down trees or bushes. Just wait. It's not very long. It's 3 months. You've just got to back off and leave it alone.
The problem is, as well, maybe some are watching, but it's not people in there. Oh, occasionally it is people in their gardens, but it's money. Money talks. Money overrules. Yeah, it's illegal. Shove a couple of quid the locals' way and that'll go away.
I wish they'd shove us a couple of quid for the new centre.
Yes.
But there we are. We still want anybody wins a lottery. If you know the people in Gloucester, please, guys, get them to get in touch with us, because I will be so nice to them, and so will Alice.
Yes, I will.
To see Alice being nice would be pretty amazing.
I am a nice person.
You also know with Alice, 2 things happen when she's
If you say my voice.
her voice goes up 3 octaves and she gets louder, and you know then that you're in trouble.
That also partly answers the question from earlier of how do I get you to, not be you. That wasn't quite the wording of the question, but it was something along those lines that I can't quite remember. And high pitch has been known to work.
Okay, now, so I've got Laurie in my ears, you in front of me. We have really monopolised this entire hour. So poor old Laurie's been sitting there,
Sorry,
lonely
Laurie.
and all by himself. So we're going to get Laurie wrap up. Laurie, the last 2 minutes are all yours. We will go
Will I?
Hello, I'm a disembodied voice. I'm not bringing my my face onto the camera. I hope you can realise, and I am saying this when Alice can't actually hear me, but I hope you can realise why we're all terrified of Alice and why she's absolutely vital for the running of the centre, whether that be volunteers, staff, takes a whole load of the night calls as well, so anyone who calls out of hours, she'll deal with an awful lot of those, does so much work, and the amount that she's done over the past years is absolutely incredible. And I hope you can realise why we're now all terrified
I
of
can't
her.
hear anything, so I'm going to clap.
Alice can't hear any of that.
No,
Alice can't hear me at all.
So I'll just clap.
So if she plays it back later on, she'll be quite aghast at what you just said about her. So I think she'll be flattered. But go on, Laurie. We're going to
I'll
stop
clap
now.
myself.
That's it. It's all yours, Laurie.
So, we would like to say, as we do wrap up for the evening, thank you very much to every single one of you who has watched, commented, liked, shared, all of the usual things, and of course to all you guys who've left donations as well. So, I know Sven, you've left €100 in there, Michelle with $4.99 US, Kevin Wildlife €5, and Alexandra with 20, I believe that's Swiss francs. Thank you so much. We say this every single time, we're not funded by the government at all, we rely entirely on public generosity, and the only reason we can do what we do is thanks to your help. So thank you all so much for watching. We will see you again in a month's time, and I have to say, and a minor sneak peek here, we will be launching something that, and I'm sure Simon will attest to, has taken far too long and involves me finally getting off my backside to do it. I'm sure you know what that is, but when we cut to the end board we will reveal all. So Simon, is there anything you would like to say before we end for the evening?
I'd just like to say what I always say, really. Thank you to you, Laurie, because you will never take praise. Thank you to Alice, who really just scares me to death. And you know, without 400 volunteers here, this place would not be. I mean, it just wouldn't happen. So, you know, their dedication, their time. I mean, if you think they're here 7 days, well, not all of them, but we have 400 volunteers covering 7 days a week. We have got some of them here a lot more than that. So to everybody, just thank you. Thank you guys for listening to us ramble on, because without your support and help, and you never know, you might suddenly make a phone call, somebody might want to support Wildlife Aid, and you know, you never know how this circle of life works, really. You might find someone who wants to support us. We are all desperately going to go to Gloucester this weekend and drive around Gloucester going, we're Wildlife Aid, please help us. But guys, thank you. Laurie, thank you. Alice, thank you. Love you all. Thank you so much.